Hey everybody, my name's Daniel, and thank you for tuning into this video. I probably titled this video something that probably drew you in to not really trick you, but some people might not have watched the video if I labeled it what it truly was, because this is my story. Um, Something that I've been working through, my relationship with Jesus Christ. And for a while now, I've been studying the Bible and really trying to put a lot of time into that. And through that, a few things that I felt led to do by the Holy Spirit, where I made the chosen videos that you may have seen. But another thing that I've been working on and that I've been kind of writing a lot is my testimony now. Um, you hear a lot of people doing their testimony, and it's it's truly like brutal, almost, the things that they've been through. And mine's not my story is not as crazy as a lot of people's um, have been and are, but I just feel compelled to tell you my story. And I was actually just in bed, and a bunch of thoughts just started, kind of crashing down on me, the things that I should say and things that I need to say and get out there. And I just didn't I just didn't feel like I could wait till tomorrow. I just didn't feel like it was right for me to put it off until tomorrow, and I feel like it needs done right now. Um, but so I'm going to start off with the first thing that I have written here. It's from Psalms 107. It says, "Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His love endures forever. Let the redeemed of the Lord tell their story. Those he redeemed from the hand of the foe. Those he, man, my handwriting's not very good. Sorry. Those he gathered from the lands, from the east and west, from north and south." So the big thing recently that really hit me was I went to this group called New Wine, and it's held at Horizons Church once a month. And back at the beginning of July, I went, and they had a guest speaker, and I forget his name, but he said something that really stuck with me, and that really kind of kicked off me wanting to, or feeling compelled to tell my testimony. And it was growing up in the church doesn't mean the church grew up in you. And I've heard a lot of people say that they've grown up in church, and it really doesn't mean anything to have grown up in church, because if you don't listen and learn and believe, then it doesn't matter. Because getting into heaven isn't about going to church or just being a good person in general. It's about giving your life to God and believing in him, and then following his commands. And one thing that I struggle with on a daily basis is, especially right now, because I don't have a vehicle or a job. So right here where I'm sitting is where I spend most of my days. Um, and just keeping myself distracted pretty much day in and day out. Like, it kind of started as, well, I don't have a job, I don't have a car right now, so I can't go out and do anything. Um, and I would read the Bible, and I still do every morning, and do my devotionals every morning. And then the rest of the day was like, well, what am I going to do? And it's usually me watching videos or studying for my fantasy football draft that's coming up here soon. Things like that, or making videos. Like I like playing video games. I love playing video games, and I like recording videos and making videos and editing videos, and that's what I like to do. But it overtakes my walk with God, and it's something that I struggle with every day. That I need to really just spend time with Him and focus and really hear what He has to say. And tonight I struggled with that a little bit before bed, and usually I'll turn on the TV or something while I fall asleep, and I just felt God telling me, no, don't do that. Just lay there. Just lay there and listen. And I did. And I'm here now sharing my story. So back to the growing up in church thing. It's like I was saved at a young age. And I remember it. It was actually in the room right next door here. I went in there and woke my dad up in the middle of the night, and he prayed with me. And that's the day that I was saved. And I went to church, went to youth camp, did all these things. But the church really never grew in me. It was, I played in the worship band in church, and I would tell people, I'm doing this for God, but it was really for selfish reasons. I always thought that if I played an instrument, that the girls would like me, and that really translated into my whole outlook on life, and that whole mentality kind of grew in me. Through that, I started to rebel against my parents, and I ended up moving out of my parents' house in my 11th grade year and moved in with my grandparents. And that kind of really started the whole downward spiral of my life. And met some people in high school, my senior year, and joined bands because, the girls liked it, and blah, 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 blah. And it just led me down the wrong path. Like, it just led me into the whole filling your life, filling the void with other things that aren't good, that they're not, sex and drugs and drinking. And, it started as a progression. I smoked a little pot in high school, and then I drank for my first time. And then from there, those things became a big part of my life until we got into about a year after my graduation that I was started to do harder drugs, cocaine, things like that. And that led me to end up in jail. And those things, looking back on it now, I can tell that was, going to jail was really a God kind of knocking and being like, hey, I'm here, and what you're doing isn't right. And, it was a struggle for a while. And then after I got out of jail, it was just a couple months that I was right back into the same stuff. It was even before my court date, and, just the drinking and stuff. And, well, I'm not on probation or anything, so what harm can come of it? And one night I was just driving to Buchanan and wrecked my parents' van. And it was another kind of aha moment to where I shouldn't have lived. I got up and walked out of it with nothing. I had a bruise on my leg, but looking at there had to have been some kind of divine intervention there, because there's no way that the way that I wrecked that it should have been. I mean, it was a minivan. The entire ceiling was crushed in, even the passenger side. The driver, the up front, the passenger side was crushed in, but where I was fine. And looking back on it, it's really a eye-opening thing to where I know that was a way of God trying to get my attention. And I still didn't. I still lived the next, that was 2016, or 2016, 2006. It was forever ago. 15 years ago. And I still didn't. And I just kept doing the same things that I was doing. Just living my life for me and only for me. Just didn't care who I hurt or didn't care what I did, as long as I filled whatever hole I had in me with whatever the world could give me. And looking back, it's tough to think about that I've wasted so much of my time that God has given me on myself, and that I could have spent a lot more time serving him. And I mean, I'm 35 now, that's 35 years. Well, let's call it like 30 years, pretty much it's been my whole life wasted. And just recently I've come back to God, and a big help in that was I spent about 7 months down in Virginia with my older brother, and just seeing his faith and his walk with God really kind of helped me get back on the right track. And this whole pandemic situation was really the initial wake-up call to me, because it was something that at first, when things started happening, it was scary. I was working at Kroger, and it was like, we're going to have to shut down. And they gave us papers just in case we got pulled over on our way to work, because people weren't supposed to be out on the roads, saying that I was an essential worker and all this stuff. And it really kind of freaked me out. It was just like something that you don't think that you would ever have to go through. And, once you're put in that situation, like, everybody reacts differently, and mine on the outside, I was trying to put on that front that I was strong and not scared or anything, but it really got to me. It really freaked me out. And I remember one night after work, driving home, that I just prayed, and it was almost like God was calling me back to him in that moment. And that, I mean, it wasn't like it was God calling me back to him. And I prayed, and I don't remember the exact prayer, but that was really the kickoff point of me really coming back and redevoting my life to God. And about 6 or 7 months later is whenever I went to my brother's. So, during that process, of coming back to God, I kind of relied on old knowledge of what was right, what was wrong, and all this stuff, and didn't really dive into the Bible and try to learn. And, you just can't do that. You really have to study. You really have to learn, because, if you just try to rely on something that you learned 20 years ago, it's not going to work. But there's some other things here. I mean, I don't want this to go on forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, but I've got pages and pages of stuff written down here. There's some things that I've written down over the past few weeks that I'm just going to read And, and I hope that they can really kind of speak to you the way that they spoke to me. But I believe this is Psalms 107. I didn't write down the Bible verse. Hold on a second. Yeah, it is still Psalms 107. I guess I was writing and I interrupted myself with thoughts and things. But said, some wandered in desert wastelands, finding no way to a city where they could settle. They were hungry and thirsty, and their lives ebbed away. And what I wrote was trying to fill your life with fleeting things, money, drugs, sex, etc. While these things seem fulfilling in the moment, they leave you empty, alone, and afraid. That's really how I felt for years. Especially in 2018, it was a rough year for me. I was depressed and I lost a bunch of weight. It was bad. It was really, really bad year for me. And it was all because I was trying to fill my life with these things, drinking and sex and things like that. And it's not fulfilling. It doesn't do anything but leave you empty. And, the only thing that can fill that is Jesus. That's it. And, I used to worry about, I'm 30 something. I need to try to think about settling down with a woman, trying to do this or that, or, things that you see everybody else doing, at various points. But, what really needed to happen was me to turn my life back to God. And that's what I did. But then Psalms 107, 6, and they cried out to the Lord in their trouble, and he delivered them from their distress. He led them by a straight way to a city where they could settle. So God can pull you from any place that you may be in life, no matter how far you've gone. No matter how far gone you may think you are, God can and will bring you out of it if you just open up your heart to him. And, that really is the truth. It doesn't matter who you are or what you've done, because whenever God came down, whenever God sent his son to earth to live as a man, to give up his divinity to live here amongst us and to teach and to heal and to be hated and to be crucified for us. He took your sin and my sin in that, and by his grace and his love, we are free of that sin. So it doesn't matter what you've done, or just believe and trust in God, and you'll be free from that. And ever since I turned my life back towards God and started praying every day and reading and studying it, a lot of the things that I felt guilt for, I've made amends. I've prayed, asked for forgiveness, and they're not there anymore. They're just gone. And there's still a lot of people that I need to make amends to and stuff, and I'm still working through that, and I still struggle with things daily. But if you just pray and truly believe, then all of these things can be taken away from you by God's grace and his mercy. And he never had to do that. And that's the amazing thing, is that he came down, he gave up who he is, the creator of the universe. He lived amongst men as a man and was beat and tortured and crucified so that we may, as sinful humans, be saved and spend eternity with him. I think there's nothing that it feels like there's nothing that we can do to pay that back other than give your life to him and to just do what he tells you to do. Follow his guidance, follow his word, and just live your life for him. And that's what he wants. And that's what I'm going to do. And there's so much more here. And I've seen this little cartoon going around before, where it's a guy and Jesus walking side by side, and the guy's like, oh, what's down here? And it's like a path to sin, and he's running down that path and leaves Jesus to run down this path, and eventually he turns back and he's like weary and starts going back towards where he left Jesus at, and he was like, I wonder if he's even still there for me. And like in the cartoon, Jesus had set up like a little camp, and he was just standing there waiting for him. And it's so true, because like no matter how far you stray or what you've done, or how many times you ignore him or put him aside, I mean, for me, he was still there. He was waiting and just ready for me to come back to him. And I don't deserve that by any stretch of the imagination. But that just goes to show you that his grace and his mercy and what that is. It's just amazing. So I'm going to leave you with this, and it's something that if you are a believer or have been raised in church or anything that you've heard 1,000 times, but it's John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have eternal life. And perish as in an eternity of suffering. And I've heard a lot of people say and talk about how we'll see you in hell and we'll have a table reserved for you, and they think it's going to be some kind of party. No, it's not. Not even a little bit. It's going to be worse than anything that you could imagine. But if you just believe in God, that you'll have eternal life and spend eternity with him. So thank you guys for watching. I just really felt like God was telling me to put this out there, and hopefully even one person, even if it's just one of you that has any questions or anything, just let me know and I'll do my best to answer them, or I can at least lead you in the right path to somebody that knows a lot more than I do, because I'm still fresh in this and still studying, but thank you guys for watching, and God bless you.